Picture this. You're in school taking a test that you know you're gonna fail. Now imagine being in that moment, but you had superpowers. And more specifically, the power to make people pee their pants on command. Boom! You make the teacher pee her pants, she runs out of the room, you look up all the answers and ace the test. That is why having superpowers would be awesome. But what they don't tell you about superpowers is that while having them sounds amazing, there are a lot of reasons why they would suck. Growing up, everyone wanted superpowers like flying, mind reading, super strength. So I'm gonna tell you situations I've been in where these superpowers would have saved me, but also why these powers aren't as amazing as they seem. And I'm also gonna tell you some specific powers I wish I had that I guarantee you've never heard of. But before that, we gotta address what everyone was thinking when they clicked on this video. When someone asks you what superpower you would want, the number one answer is always the ability to talk to women. Mind reading. The answer is mind reading. And I understand the appeal. You walk into a room, you know exactly what everyone thinks of you, so you can never get lied to again. Sounds incredible, but that's because you're thinking about it wrong. Here's what you're picturing. You go into a party, some girl smiles at you, and you hear her think,
"Wow, he's so cool. I hope he talks to me."
So you go up and talk to her. No more playing this game wondering if people like you or not. But really, that's not what's gonna happen. What's actually gonna happen is you walk into that room, and within 30 seconds, you hear 6 different people thinking things like,
"Damn, bro looks chopped today. Why does he smell like that?"
And then when you actually go up to talk to someone, you're gonna realize that they're thinking,
"Please just let this conversation end already."
I know this for a fact because of what happened to me at lunch one time in 10th grade. There was this girl, I won't say her name, but I will spell it backwards for you. A-N-A. And I had been convinced for weeks that she liked me. My friends were convinced. The evidence was there. She would laugh at everything I said. She always sat near me. She texted me first. It had all the classic signs. So I had built up this entire narrative in my head where she definitely liked me, and I was just waiting for the right moment to ask her out. But one day, I'm sitting across from her at lunch, and she's smiling, and I'm in the middle of telling a story. I'm thinking to myself, bro, I gotta make my move on her soon. Like, she obviously likes me. But while I'm talking, I notice she keeps glancing off to the side every few seconds. Real quick. At first, I thought she might just be having a very minor seizure, so I just ignored it. But then I realized what was actually happening. Because my friend Jake got up and went to the bathroom. And the moment that happened, Anna looked completely uninterested in what I was saying now. All of a sudden, she didn't care at all about me explaining to her why LeBron could solve world peace. Now, I didn't figure it out in that moment, but after a couple months, I found out she never even liked me. She liked my friend Jake. But you may ask, well, then why did she act so interested in me? Well, Jake was my best friend, so she was using me as a way to get Jake's attention. Did it work? No, because me and Jake are both too dumb to understand context clues. But the whole point of me saying this is that if I had the ability to read minds in that moment, it would have been both good and bad. Good because I probably would have found out a lot sooner that she wasn't interested in me and saved the heartbreak, but bad because every time she talked to me in class or smiled at me, instead of thinking she really liked me, I would have heard what she was really thinking, which was probably something like,
"If this guy wasn't Jake's friend, I would get a restraining order against him."
And that's just one person. Mind reading means you're hearing everyone, constantly, all the time. You're at a family dinner and your uncle is thinking about something I probably can't even say on this video or else it would get taken down. You gotta listen to it. You're talking to your best friend and he's thinking, well, to be honest, there's probably nothing going on inside your best friend's head, so you might be good in that scenario. But you never get to have a real conversation again because you already know what everyone's thinking. And people just naturally tend to think more negative. So you would definitely hear a lot more mean things about you than nice. So mind reading sounds like a cheat code, but in reality, you're just gonna get your feelings hurt way faster. But funny enough, I actually do have this ability. Like, I can read your mind right now. Watch. Think about something right now and I'll guess it. Are you ready? You're thinking about LeBron in a maid outfit. No? Okay, maybe that was just me. But anyways, I don't want to make it sound like all superpowers are bad. There are some specific ones I've always wanted that I guarantee you've never heard of that would be awesome to have. The first one I had in mind would give me 1,000,000 times more aura in my life. The ability to have my very own theme music play every time I enter a room. Imagine walking into school on the first day. Everyone's trying to make the best impression possible. They've got their hair done, best outfit on, but still, none of that can compete with what happens when you walk through that front door. Everyone's staring at you as you're just oozing aura out of your pores, and you're just walking to your locker like this is completely normal, because for you, it is. Now, the only sticky part about this power is making sure you can control when it does and doesn't go off. Because if it just always goes off whenever you walk into a room, that would not be good. Imagine you pull up to your grandma's funeral and this just starts bumping in the background while 50 people with tears in their eyes slowly turn to look at you. But honestly, even if I couldn't control when it goes off, it's still worth it. It's just too tough to pass up on. Now with this power, everyone knows when you arrive. But what about having a power that does the opposite? Because another super popular answer when you ask someone what power they would want is invisibility. And I'll be honest, if this is the #1 power you would want, I can't trust you. Now most people's reasons for saying this is imagine all the places you could sneak into. Free concerts all the time. Oh, the pyramids are off limits to go to? Not for you. Sure, if that's what you would actually use invisibility for, that sounds pretty dope. But let's be real, most of the people who say they would choose invisibility are saying it because they want to be a creep. I know there's some freaky people out there that would absolutely abuse this power. My friends and I were debating what the best power would be one time, and one of our friends went,
I want to be invisible.
then when we were like,
Oh, well, where would you go if you were invisible?
he just went, didn't even say a single word. That laugh said way more than anything he could have actually said would have. The problem with invisibility is that nobody thinks it through all the way. But because every girl I interact with says I seem slightly autistic, I have thought this through. So let me explain. If you go invisible, your body turns invisible, not your clothes. So the second you're invisible, you're just a floating outfit standing in the middle of the room. You're not invisible, you're just floating clothes. The only way to counter this is to just get completely naked every time you want to use this power. So this means invisibility is really just a complicated way to become a nudist. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be walking around butt naked just to get free front row seats at a World Cup match. Well, actually, but let's say you figure out how to become invisible without everyone seeing your clothes. We'd still have a big problem. Because what happens when you sneeze? Nobody can see you, but that doesn't mean they can't hear you. So bam, you get caught for being the person that can turn invisible. They turn you into the government, then do tests on your body for the rest of your life, and you never get to see the light of day ever again. I'm using sneezing as a scenario that could mess this power up because one time, my friends and I were going to a concert, and this concert was impossible to get tickets for. I don't know how we got them, but unfortunately, one of my friends didn't get a ticket and he really wanted to go. So we came up with a plan. Now this friend was pretty short. So the idea was to buy a baby stroller and put him in it, hoping the security would think we had just had a sleeping baby. I saw someone do it in a YouTube video, so that's where we thought of it. I know it sounds wild, but if you were there, you would see just how real it actually looked. We thought it was genuinely gonna work. But when we got to the front gate, as we're about to scan our tickets, the baby in our stroller sneezes. And it was not a cute little baby sneeze. No, it was full on, achoo! So the security said,
Hey, we need to take a look at your baby that just screamed like a 40-year-old man.
and when they did, they saw a 180-month-old person instead of a 6-month-old. We all got kicked out after that. So moral of the story, sneezing or any noises would ruin any chance of invisibility being useful. But I've come up with a power that quite literally has 0 downsides. If you had this power, it would do nothing but make your life better. I dare you to try finding something negative about the power to duplicate socks. I know how that sounds. You can pick any power in the world and you choose socks? Before you assume, no, this has nothing to do with liking feet, okay? But the reason this power is so sick is because whenever your laundry gets done, what happens? You always lose a sock, somehow. I don't know where it goes, but it literally feels like whenever my laundry is finished, I only have one of each sock, never a matching one. It's not like I can just go buy more because no matter what, one of them always disappears. So imagine if you could duplicate socks, and then all of a sudden, you never have this problem again. If you only have one sock, that's fine. Snap! Now you got 2. So this might just be the best power ever invented. Even better than teleportation. Don't get me wrong, teleportation could be awesome to have, so I'm not gonna trash on it, but boy oh boy, could having this power go horrifically wrong. The main thing that nobody considers with teleportation is how dangerous it would be to have. This would genuinely be super dangerous for you and anyone around you, because if you're teleporting by thinking of a location, how do you know someone's not in that exact location? I want to teleport to Times Square, so I do. But then bam, I'm inside of a homeless dude. Wait, that's okay, that's not what I meant. I meant like, you know, it's probably better if I just don't explain it actually. You never know what's waiting for you on the other side of that teleportation though. There is literally no safe place to actually teleport if you think about it. Even if you try going to the most remote place, a grass field that goes on for miles and miles with no people around, still, you might end up inside a cow. Why did I not learn from the first time saying that sentence? But you don't even realize teleportation can be this dangerous because whenever you see it in the movies, they're always executing it perfectly. But this is real life where mistakes happen. And also teleportation isn't real. So I guess this isn't real life. I don't even know why I'm making this video in the first place. Okay, you know what? Actually, video is canceled. Let's play the outro. Nah, just kidding. The video's not over yet. I gotta pay my bills somehow, so we're gonna keep going. Next power up, let me cook with this one. The ability to untangle headphones by the snap of a finger. Because similar to the sock problem, for some reason, you could perfectly put a pair of headphones on the ground in a straight line, but when you blink, they will be completely tangled up to no return. No one knows how it happens, but it does. It's just unpreventable. There are knots in there that defy science, and trying to untangle them, well, good luck. You have a better chance of me finding a girlfriend. Why do I keep making these jokes every time? One time I was on a long car ride going from California to Vegas, and I brought headphones with me to listen to music. They were super tangled, but I figured I would just untangle them once we got on the road and all would be okay. But then we started driving, and literally for the whole drive, which was 4 hours, I was attempting to untangle them and I couldn't figure it out. Now you may think this power only would have been useful 5 years ago because everyone has AirPods now. And to that I say, actually, I didn't think about that part. I guess this power would be useless now. Why did I not think about that before making this part of the video? I haven't even used wired headphones myself in like 3 years. Luckily, some powers are timeless though, like super speed. Super speed is the power that sounds the coolest when you're young because that's one of the only things that matters when you're a kid. Being the fastest person in school. It basically decided your popularity there. The fastest kid at school was untouchable. So naturally, everyone wants to be fast when they're kids. But the day I realized this power would not be as great as it seems was when I was watching the show, The Boys. Because in the very first scene of the show, A-Train, who has super speed, literally runs straight through a girl and different parts of her body splatter all over the place like a piñata was just broke. Now I want to clarify, this was fake. It's not real. Just felt the need to put that in there because I can't take any more chances after my channel got hooked a couple weeks ago. But watching this was the first time where I said to myself, oh yeah, it's probably really hard to see where you're going when you're running 500 miles per hour. If I spin around like this, my motion gets blurry after 1 second. So I doubt I could see where I'm going if I ran that fast. It's pretty much the same problem as teleportation, except with one more issue. Bugs. At a normal running speed, running into a bug is annoying. At super speed, you're cooked. Just think about it this way. When you're in a car and you run into a bug, it splatters all over the windshield and it's completely unavoidable. You have no time to see the bug coming. Now imagine that happening, but to your face. Bugs splattering all over it. No matter where you want to use your super speed to get to, you're gonna need to bring some dude wipes with you just to clean yourself up. And don't you dare run with your mouth open or else it's GG. And then there's friction. Now, did I have to Google what this word meant? Yes. But basically, clothes are not built for super speed. The friction of moving that fast would heat your clothes up to the point where they'd be burning off your body in real time. So now you've got the bugs on your face, and once again, you're butt naked. Why does every power seem to just make you butt naked? And if you don't think this is realistic, trust me, it is. Because I was doing track and field in middle school one year, and it was the biggest race. The whole school was watching, because we had this track and field day once a year. So I was locked in, but I'm racing the 400-meter race. And right when the start sound goes off, I sprint the first 100 meters like I have something to prove. I'm going full speed, but I'm starting to feel something behind me. It was almost as if someone was pulling on the back of my shorts. I ignored it in the moment because I still had a chance to finish the race. But once I finished, and lost, I noticed a lot more people looking at me than the person who actually won the race. And I quickly realized it wasn't because of my dazzling looks. No, it was my shorts. What was wrong with my shorts? The back of them ripped. They were already slightly ripped when I started the race, but the speed of running in them made them almost rip off entirely. You could see all my underwear. That's something you don't come back from as a kid in middle school. So if I ever attempted to run while having super speed, it would get freaky real quick, and not in a good way. But speaking of freaky, can you imagine how cool it would be to have the ability to talk to animals? Everybody has looked at their pet at least once in their life and thought,
how awesome would it be if I could just know what they're thinking right now?
Dogs would be the best case scenario. You'd ask your dog what he wants and he'd say something like,
to bite your limbs off. Or maybe he'd ask for a treat.
So dogs would be amazing to talk with because you know that your dog loves you. They'd just be glazing you all day. But cats, that would be the last animal I'd want to speak to. You'd finally get to understand what they're thinking and it would just be pure judgment. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure all cats hate humans. The relationship we humans have with mosquitoes is what cats probably think of us. You don't even need to give humans the ability to understand cats to know they don't like us. Have you ever actually tried petting a cat? I don't know about you, but every time I try laying a finger on my cat, he swats at me with his claws, genuinely trying to draw blood. I saw a video one time saying that if you passed away in your house and your cat was there, after a few days, it would just start eating your body. So I don't think I would want to talk to cats, and I'm saying this as someone who loves my cat. The best animals to talk to would be the wild ones though. Imagine you're in the wilderness and you see a bear. Normally, you're cooked. You just became dinner. But in this scenario, you can say,
Listen, man, I'm cooking steaks back at the campground. Those will taste a lot better than I would with all this red 40 in my body. Why don't we go back together and I'll make you a ribeye?
and the bear goes,
You know what? Steak does sound good.
but then he probably eats you anyways. The only thing I'm terrified of is if you give this power to the wrong person out there. Cause I just know there would be someone out there who, if they had the chance, would use this power to rizz up the animals. Why are you putting an arrow at me, editor? You're fired again, buddy. Pack your bags. Now I'm gonna make a very hot take. Out of every single power I have mentioned and will mention in this video, super strength would by far be the most overrated. Before you come saying how horrible of a take this is, just hear me out. When was the last time you needed to lift something that required superhuman strength? A car? A building? A boulder? When did that come up? Because for most people, the answer is never. The things you need to lift are boxes, groceries, your phone, your backpack. None of those require super strength. I mean, I know some of y'all's McDonald's orders out there would take super strength to lift, but I ain't gonna judge. Sure, super strength would make these things slightly easier, but for how much people glaze this power, it's not adding that much to your life. With the technology we have these days, this power is basically useless. We have machines that can lift any amount of weight perfectly fine. Matter of fact, this power would have been useless even thousands of years ago too. Do you know how much those blocks on the pyramids weigh? Me neither, but somehow they were able to stack those on top of each other without having the advanced technology we have these days. Now yes, it was probably aliens who built that, but still, you get my point. What super strength would actually do is ruin the daily activities you gotta do. You go to open a door, but when you pull, it just completely breaks. No, not the door handle, the whole door itself. There's literally no door left now. You'd be buying a new one every day. If you get even slightly angry while holding your phone, you're definitely crushing it accidentally, so there's another expense. Have you ever seen the Hulk scrolling through YouTube Shorts? No, that's because he would break the phone out of rage if he was scrolling through the app and came across one of my videos. If you still don't believe this power would suck, just let me tell you about the time I was hanging out with my friend. So my friend's grandma has one of those old antique houses that smell kind of like death, but they had a sick pool in the backyard. So I would go over there to swim with my friend. But one day I went there and my friend texted me saying, hey, we're already in the pool. Just open the front door and come through to the backyard. So I, a person with average strength at best, pulled on the front door and the handle just came off, like completely detached. I'm standing there with no way to get inside because the door is now just a flat surface with a hole in it. And I'm also thinking,
How can I not put the blame on myself for this?
so I panicked in a way that was probably not my best option. I tried to put the door handle back. I could not put it back though. I also could not get into the house. So I ended up just leaving it on the ground and told my friend I had an emergency at home that I needed to go back for. My friend never brought up the door handle to me, so I don't know if they thought it just fell off by itself or they knew I did it but didn't want to embarrass me. To this day, I've been too scared to go back to that house and look his grandma in her eyes. I think she might have passed away by now, so I don't think I can do that actually. But imagine if I had super strength in that moment. I think the whole house would have genuinely fallen apart the moment I tried twisting that handle, and that is not an exaggeration. The cool muscles you get wouldn't even be worth it either, because you'd never be able to find any clothes that fit you or sleep on any bed again. Don't even try giving your mama a hug either. You'll hear her ribs crack the second you put your arms around her. Now, just because you have a superpower does not mean you have to use it for good. Remember, superheroes exist, but supervillains exist too. And with the ability I'm thinking of right now, I would definitely become a villain because I would love to have the ability to make anyone at any moment pee their pants on command. There are just so many scenarios looking back where this power would have made my day a lot better. Think about the possible uses for it. Someone is being rude to you in public. Bam! Now they have a dark stain on their pants for everyone to see. You're waiting in a really long line that you don't got time to be in. Suddenly, everyone there feels a warm liquid crawling down their leg. So they run out of that line as quick as possible to go take care of it. The reason I like this power so much is because while it is annoying, it doesn't actually hurt anybody. It will be a minor inconvenience in their day, but they'll forget about it in a week. If I'm picking one power off this entire list, it's this one. Don't overthink it. But there is one power that you see more than anything else in movies and TV shows. You will not find a show about people who have powers without seeing the ability to fly. Close your eyes and picture this. You're in the sky looking down on the whole world. There's no noise up there besides the sound of your own breath. You're at peace. And then, wham! You get shot down by a drone. Because here's the thing you gotta remember. We live in the real world, not a comic book. In this world, if you go outside and fly for the first time, within 45 seconds, there is a government response being coordinated just to take you down. This isn't like any of the powers where you can kind of hide them. Super strength, maybe you can hide it by, I don't know, just not flipping cars over. Super speed, just don't run as fast as you can. But flight, there's no hiding that one. If you ever actually want to use the ability, you will get caught. If it's not people that see you in the air, it will be an air traffic controller seeing an unidentified object in the the sky. So literally, there is only one way this situation could possibly go if you have this ability. You get caught by some government entity, they put you in a lab and do tests on you for the rest of your life. Maybe, if you're lucky, you will see the sun a couple more times, but it will only be because they're using you as a weapon. You don't actually ever get to be free again. The only show that depicts what would actually happen if someone saw you flying is Stranger Things. When they found out those kids had powers, they locked them up and were willing to literally tear the universe apart just to make sure they didn't escape. And plus, flying wouldn't even be as awesome as you think. I have a friend who skydives all the time, which, why? I don't know. You'll never catch me joining them. But anyways, I've asked him before what it feels like to be skydiving, because the closest thing I've ever been to skydiving is going on a roller coaster. And my friend told me it feels amazing, except for this one issue. What is the issue? Well, you know how when you go on a roller coaster, you get those knots in your stomach on the drops? Well, my friend said when you're skydiving, that feeling multiplies by 1,000. So the main issue he has with skydiving is that it always makes him have to poop, sometimes before he even gets to land. He said he's had multiple close calls before where he almost was dropping deuces from the sky like a bird. So unless you want to be pooping on innocent civilians, the ability to fly would stink, literally. But if you do want to poop on innocent civilians, hit me up. I might have a job for you. The one thing every single kid could agree on growing up is that school started way too early. But have you ever wondered why school starts so early in the morning? Well, today, I'm gonna reveal the real reason they do this, but I'm also going to reveal a bunch of other secrets
That will make you rethink your whole childhood.
So everyone knows how important sleep is to function, which makes you think it would be smarter for school to start later, right? That way, students would actually be able to focus in class instead of all our brains running at about, 3%. So you would think there would be a specific reason why school needed to start so early. Well, actually, there was a reason, but it's just gonna make you angry. Matter of fact, all these secrets I'm about to tell you in this video about your childhood is gonna make you angry. This is just the very beginning. But before I tell you the actual reason for school starting so early, I need to show you something I just found out. So there are people who literally study sleep for a living, and there was one study done which revealed that during puberty, your brain's internal clock shifts. And this makes your body start to produce the chemical that makes you fall asleep later at night and naturally want to wake up later in the morning. It's not laziness. It's not bad habits. It's not because you were on your phone until midnight. This is just how your brain is programmed when you become a teenager. Forcing yourself to wake up early is actually what goes against your biological nature. So actual sleep scientists, like the people whose entire career is understanding how human sleep works, came out and said schools should not start before 8:30 in the morning. They literally wrote this and officially published it. So what did schools do when scientists said this? Schools kept starting before the sun came up. So you may be wondering,
Why in the world would they still start school so early?
well, here's what nobody ever explains. School start times were never designed around when teenagers sleep. They were never designed around you at all. Why the start time is actually so early is because when the modern school system was being built, it was built to fit around adults' schedules. Adults needed to get to work around 9 a.m. on average. So kids needed to be dropped off at school before that. It was the people who created school start times that messed it all up. Every test you ever underperformed on, every time you got in trouble for falling asleep in class, that was not a you problem. That was a school starts at the wrong time problem. And it makes so much sense because I don't think I remember a single thing that went through my brain before 9 a.m. when I was in school. To be fair, I don't remember just about anything that went through my brain while I was in school, but especially before 9 a.m. But it doesn't even end there because if you're American, you could probably relate to everything I just said. But you want to know something I found out recently that grinded my gears? Schools in other countries don't start this early. Apparently in the United Kingdom, most schools start at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. That's a whole nother hour of sleep we could have gotten every single night for 14 years. And it was just taken away from us, just like how we took the tea away from the British people. Okay, sorry. At least I think that's what the Boston Tea Party is about. I don't really know anything about it, to be honest. I'm just guessing they named it that for a reason. I'm just gonna stop. I don't know what the Boston Tea Party was about because I had history class before 9 a.m. But finding out the truth behind why school starts so early makes me mad. But this next secret just makes me feel disgusted. Because have you ever wondered what the Krabby Patty formula in SpongeBob is actually made out of? If you're anything like me, all you wanted to do as a child was try one of those burgers. But after hearing this next secret, I don't think you'll ever want to be anywhere near a Krabby Patty. And to understand this next secret, we need to go over a couple things. So in the show, Mr. Krabs is a crab who sells Krabby Patties, right? And the plot for the whole show is that his rival, Plankton, is constantly trying to steal the secret Krabby Patty formula. The one recipe that makes these burgers so good that everyone in Bikini Bottom is completely obsessed with them. It's like an In-N-Out burger. The perfectly toasted bun, the grilled onions, the sauce. Oh, the sauce. Dang, now I'm really craving an In-N-Out burger. So the secret to Mr. Krabs' recipe is so important that Mr. Krabs protects it like it is literally the most valuable thing that exists. And across all of these episodes and all those years, we never find out what's actually in it. Not once. Now this is where it gets weird because Mr. Krabs has a daughter and her name is Pearl. Pearl is a whale, a large pink whale. Mr. Krabs is a small red crab. For Pearl to be Mr. Krabs' biological daughter, Pearl's mother had to have been a whale, which means at some point, Mr. Krabs was in a relationship with a whale. That whale, which is Pearl's mom, is never talked about in the show. No explanation, no backstory, no mention. There's no episode about what happened to her or where she went. She is just gone and the show doesn't address it. Apparently, there's a theory with a lot of evidence that the formula is Pearl's mom. The whale meat is the formula. Mr. Krabs refuses to let anyone near the formula because if anyone ever found out what was actually in that burger, his business would be cooked. And whales are super rare in Bikini Bottom, so that would make the burger taste unique to anything else you could get there. The theory gets even more dark because people think that once Mr. Krabs runs out of the meat from his wife, he's gonna have to get more. And who is the only whale left in Bikini Bottom? Mr. Krabs' daughter. Nah, that secret was too far. We gotta move on. Ice cream trucks. Let's talk about ice cream trucks because there's a secret about these you won't believe. So during our childhood, we would all hear that jingle signaling that the ice cream truck was coming by. Just picture it. You're chilling inside on a hot day, no air conditioning in your house because your parents don't ever want to turn it on. Sorry guys, I still live with my parents, so I was just trying to get them to hear my message. But back to the scenario. So you're in the house and then you hear it, the music coming from somewhere down the street. And there's this thing that happens in your brain that I literally cannot explain, but every single person who grew up hearing that sounds knows exactly what I'm talking about. Everything stops. Whatever you were doing becomes completely irrelevant. You sprint to find a parent, you're already negotiating before you reach them. You need cash and you need it now. You get the money and you're out the door chasing that van down the street like your life depended on it. Apparently, the tradition of ice cream vans playing music as they drive through neighborhoods started as a way of communicating the opposite. When the van ran out of ice cream and was done for the day, it would play music to say, hey, don't even bother coming out. The music was supposed to mean that there's no ice cream left in the van. It meant go back inside. Every single one of those times, according to the original purpose of that sound, should have meant that there was no ice cream inside the van. The music was like an outro song. The van was going home, but somehow you got ice cream out of it anyway. Which means at some point, either the whole tradition completely flipped and the music started to mean there was ice cream left. Cause like, I heard that music last week. I'm in my 20s, but I still sprinted after it. Unfortunately though, ice cream truck drivers react a lot differently when they see a 23-year-old man sprinting at them like this compared to if they see a little kid running after the truck. But hey, adults like ice cream too, all right? Dang, now I'm really craving ice cream. Now I know we already talked about a SpongeBob secret, but there's another one that's even crazier. Because we all thought SpongeBob was just a nice cartoon about a cheerful sponge and his friends, right? No, because unfortunately, this show also had something
Really dark that will ruin your childhood.
SpongeBob SquarePants is a show
About the 7 deadly sins.
and before you think this isn't true, people who actually worked on the show have confirmed it was true. So the 7 deadly sins consist of pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. And in the show, each character represents one of these sins. Patrick Star represents sloth, and it shouldn't be hard to understand why. If you don't know what sloth means, you're probably dumb. I didn't know what it meant either, to be honest. But it basically just means laziness. And Patrick lives under a literal rock and turns doing absolutely nothing into his proud, lifelong achievement. He avoids any form of employment or physical labor, and he actively celebrates his own laziness. In multiple episodes, he even wins awards for doing nothing longer than anyone else in Bikini Bottom. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of sounds like the dream life. I can't even hate on it. But the next character, Mr. Krabs, represents greed. If you've watched even just a single episode of this show ever, you would know why. All this man cares about is chasing the bag, which, to be honest, I respect. But his whole life is consumed by the pursuit of money. He don't care about how his friends are doing, his family. His entire identity revolves around wealth, to the point where he literally dates a sack of money. You gotta remember, this is the same guy who quite literally sold SpongeBob's soul to the Flying Dutchman for 62 cents. Now, can you guess what sin Squidward is? Wrath. The more I go through all these characters, the more obvious it becomes that this show really was based off the 7 deadly sins. But Squidward represents wrath because he basically hates everything and everyone. He hates his neighbors, he hates his job, and he can't stand when other people are happy. The only thing he actually does seem to enjoy in his life is his clarinet. And even that doesn't like him back. We all know a Squidward in our life. Like, I'm sure when I said that, someone came to mind right away. So you know what I want you to do? Call the person in your life who reminds you most of Squidward right now. We'll Will they be happy you called? No. But that's the point. Plankton represents the sin of envy. His entire existence is literally fueled by jealousy over how much more successful the Krusty Krab is than his restaurant. He despises Mr. Krabs, obsessing daily over how to destroy his restaurant rather than just focusing on how to make his own restaurant better. Next up, we got Gary. Because Gary's only motivation in life is to eat. That is the only reason he wakes up in the morning. So the sin Gary represents is gluttony. The only time he speaks is when he's crying for a meal. And when his food bowl runs empty, Gary will literally eat through the living room furniture out of pure hunger. Gary, you would be very good friends with my cat because my cat is obese. Seriously, I'm not joking. It's actually getting concerning. But I don't know how to stop it because he'll scream at me if I don't feed him all the time. Like, if anyone has any tips on how to get my cat to stop doing this, please tell me. And for another main character of the show, Sandy, she represents the sin of pride. Sandy is the only character in the show who is a land mammal, not from the ocean. And she takes such pride of that in the show. She's basically like anyone you'll ever meet from Texas, to be honest. And no, I'm not roasting anyone that lives there, okay? I lived there myself. Was it for about 2 months? Yes, but I still live there. But of course, we can't talk about all the characters of the show without mentioning the star, SpongeBob. Which sin does he represent? Lust. Which, if you don't know what that means, it's basically to desire something really bad. What exactly is the big Bob lusting for? To be loved by everyone. There's not a single episode in the show where SpongeBob isn't trying to please others. And whenever any other character doesn't reciprocate the same love back to SpongeBob, you can see how upset it will make him. SpongeBob's low-key like me the more we talk about him. Matter of fact, all the characters in this show are low-key like me. Wait, does that mean I represent every single deadly sin myself? I need to get help. But anyways, here's the truth behind the show. The show is based off the 7 deadly sins. Now, what should you do with this information? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what you're gonna do with any of the information I'm gonna tell you in this video. But who cares? Moving on to the next one. And for this next one, I need you to actually do something right now. Pull up a photo of Chuck E. Cheese pizza on your phone, or just think back hard to the last time you saw one of those things in real life. And look at the slices. Don't glance at them. Actually, look. Look at where the slices meet each other. Look at the sauce pattern underneath each one. Look at whether those slices, when you push them together, form a normal circle the way a pizza made by one person at one time is supposed to form. Because once you take a real hard look, you may think to yourself,
these slices don't match. Not even close.
The sauce under slice 1 might not connect to the sauce under slice 2. The cheese thickness is completely different across sections in ways that make no sense. These slices look like they didn't start their lives together. They came from entirely different pizza families that were assembled into one new pizza and then handed directly to you. They're basically adopted pieces. So the theory is that Chuck E. Cheese collects uneaten slices of pizza from tables after customers leave. They reassemble them into a new pizza and serve that pizza to the next group of customers who comes in. Now, Chuck E. Cheese has responded officially to this conspiracy and said that was completely false. They don't do that. The whole pizza is just one pizza cooked at the same time. But here's my issue with that. They just said it. No footage, no evidence, no proof of any kind. And now look, I'm saying this is all alleged, okay? Because I don't want no beef with Chucky, all right? You guys saw last video that I ain't messing with him no more. And even if you don't fully believe this theory, which once again, I'm not saying I do, okay? I don't want to get in any trouble. Like, I've got enough things to deal with right now.
Actually, no, I don't. I low-key have nothing going on in my life right now.
But anyways, something is visually clearly wrong with how the slices on these pizzas are assembled. That part doesn't really seem like a theory. You can see it with your own 2 eyes right now if you just pull up a photo of their pizza. But what makes this conspiracy so easy to believe is that they could have easily gotten away with doing this. Like, no one actually went to Chuck E. Cheese for the quality of the pizza. You won't ever catch someone being like,
what should we get for dinner tonight?
how about we DoorDash some Chuck E. Cheese pizza?
You need to find help.
When we all used to go to Chuck E. Cheese, we were 8 years old, and all we cared about was getting as many tickets as possible in the arcade games. I would have eaten that pizza even if you told me it was recycled. And I still would have given it 5 stars without hesitating. Nothing on earth could have ruined that meal for me. Not hygiene concerns, not other people's germs. Like, Chuck E. Cheese should have just came out after these conspiracies started and been like,
We do reuse old slices of pizza. And what about it, huh? What about it?
I would have respected Mr. Cheese a lot more if he just did that. Once again, I'm not saying it's true though. Now, we're going back to SpongeBob because for some reason, the creators of this show wanted to put 1,000 different secrets in it that would just crush us to learn when we got older. But this secret is way more crazy than the other ones we've talked about. Are you ready for it? You all better have said yes out loud, okay? Your family members may think you're schizophrenic if you do that, but it's all right. They just don't get it. So between 1946 and 1958, the United States government used a place called Bikini Atoll as a nuclear weapon weapons testing site. They detonated 23 nuclear bombs there. Some of the largest nuclear detonations in human history happened at this exact location. One test was so powerful, it vaporized entire islands. Not damaged, not flooded, just deleted them, like they don't exist anymore. But the water surrounding those islands and every living thing in it was exposed to enormous amounts of radiation for over a decade. And one of the common effects of radiation is mutation. It changes your DNA. And now that I've told you this, think about what the show SpongeBob SquarePants is actually about. Talking sea creatures who walk upright, own businesses, run restaurants, go to school, drive boats, play musical instruments, and live in houses with furnitures and mailboxes and front doors. Set in a place called Bikini Bottom, named directly after the island the United States government used to detonate nuclear weapons. SpongeBob can talk because of radiation. Patrick can hold a conversation because of radiation. Well, I mean, Patrick can barely hold a conversation, but he can. The creator of SpongeBob has been asked about this theory in interviews, and every single time this question is asked, he just smiles and changes the subject. It does not take a mind reader to understand why he answers this way. Now, here's a funny secret that you, me, and literally everyone watching this went through. So we all know about the tooth fairy, right? You lose a tooth, you put it under your pillow, you go to sleep, and while you're unconscious, some small, unknown creature reaches its hand under the pillow that your head is currently sleeping on, removes your tooth, and replaces it with money. Sounds like breaking and entering if you ask me, but that's not the point. Because what I actually want to talk about is what was really going on with the tooth fairy. Because researchers looked into what children were getting paid by the tooth fairy across different areas. And what they found was a consistent, significant gap in payments based entirely on where you live. Kids in richer neighborhoods were getting noticeably more money per tooth than kids in less rich areas, consistently. Every time they look at the data, there was a big pay gap. Like me personally, I got $1 per tooth. I'm not gonna beat around the bush though. What am I actually trying to say about the tooth fairy? I'm saying
that the tooth fairy just straight up hated some of us.
No, I'm joking. What I'm actually saying is the tooth fairy
was not fair.
And we all know exactly why it wasn't fair. The next secret is about Finding Nemo. You all know the movie. It's about a little orange fish who gets lost. The dad swims across the entire ocean to find him. He ends up meeting a girl fish named Dory, who we all find kind of weirdly attractive. That was a joke, guys. I don't actually find Dory attractive. I mean, unless you guys agree, then maybe it wasn't a joke. No. It was a joke, okay? It was a joke. Unless. No. We all thought this was a beautiful, wholesome movie. But there's one issue. At the very beginning of the movie, a barracuda attacks the nest where Nemo's family lives. And almost every single egg, aka Nemo's future siblings, gets destroyed. So Nemo's dad, completely devastated, is left holding the one last egg that survived. He named that egg Nemo, and that's where the movie begins. But here's a popular theory about this film that actually makes a lot of sense when you look into it. What if the dad, Marlin, was now sitting completely alone at the bottom of the ocean? He just lost literally everything. So what does he do? He invented a son in his mind because he couldn't keep going without one. Think about what Nemo actually is in this movie. He's perfect. Brave, clever, kind, loves his dad completely, never does anything wrong. Unlike Nemo, kids in real life are usually a lot worse. Real kids eat dirt off the floor and have full screaming meltdowns in airplanes that last for hours. And yes, I'm talking to you, baby, that was on my flight from Paris to Los Angeles. 11 hours, and that baby cried the whole time. Just know, we're throwing hands if I ever see you in public. If you still don't believe that Nemo passed away before he was even born, just think about Dory, who we definitely don't find weirdly attractive. But Dory can't remember what happened 10 minutes ago. So even if somehow Dory pieced together that
Nemo isn't real,
she could literally not hold on to that information long enough to do anything about it. She would forget and go right back to going along with what Marlin was doing. She just keeps swimming. She never questions anything because she can't remember anything. And who's really the only person that Marlin is around the whole time while looking for Nemo? Dory. The only person who couldn't say to Marlin,
Nemo ain't real, big dog.
So at the end of the day, Nemo's dad is schizophrenic and Dory has Alzheimer's. So this whole movie is just about some mentally ill fish. Is it possible for fish to have schizophrenia actually? Hey Siri, can fish have schizophrenia?
I don't know, dog.
I'm done. Everyone watching this video has had the exact same dreams before. Whether it's the feeling of falling, becoming a superhero, or dating your crush. But for some reason, I specifically have a lot of dreams. Like almost every night. And as you all know, there's not a lot that goes on inside my brain during the day, but this all changes the moment I fall asleep. Because for whatever reason, I've had some crazy dreams in my life. Some really cool, and some really embarrassing. So let's talk about the most wild, unhinged dreams I've ever had. But just so you know, I'm leaving the most embarrassing one for last. And let's just say what happened in that last dream ruined my relationship with someone forever. Now this first dream absolutely traumatized me, but not for the reason you would expect. Because I had a dream where I got put back in 4th grade. So I'm just sitting there in class with a bunch of 10-year-olds, or however old 4th graders are, except I was still my current age and current size.
But Tyler, why would you being in 4th grade again traumatize you?
Is it because 4th graders are still smarter than you, even though you're literally 23 now? No, but this dream traumatized me because it ended with getting chased by a SWAT team. So imagine this. I walk into an elementary school classroom and everyone else is a normal fourth grader. Little kids, tiny desks, animal posters on the wall, that classic elementary school carpet with the alphabet on it. And then there's me, fully grown, adult-sized, way too big for all the furniture, just walking in and sitting down at one of those tiny desks like this is completely normal. My knees were hitting the bottom of the desk. My arms barely fit on the surface. I had to hunch over because I was blocking other kids' views. I looked absolutely ridiculous. But here's the part that made it so uncomfortable. Nobody thought it was weird. The teacher didn't say anything to me. The other kids didn't say anything. Nobody acknowledged that there was a fully grown adult sitting in a fourth grade classroom. They all just went about their day normally. But I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. I kept looking around, waiting for someone to notice. But nope, everyone was focused on learning multiplication or whatever you learn in fourth grade. Then the teacher starts teaching, and it's basic math. I'm talking 4 + 7 type problems.
Actually, what is 4 + 7? Never mind.
But I'm sitting there absolutely cooking the rest of the class. 3 × 9, 27. Meanwhile, all these other kids have to use their fingers to get the answers. But just as I was starting to think, maybe I really am a fourth grader, I thought the nightmare was over. But then out of nowhere, the teacher looks at me, like actually makes eye contact with me for the very first time, and she says,
Tyler, why are you in this class? You're way too old to be here.
before this moment, it was like no one was aware of me. Sure, they knew I was there, but none of them seemed conscious until now. So when the teacher asked why I was in this class, I was like, girl, I was wondering the same thing. But before I could even say anything, she picks up her phone and calls the police. Like a serial killer just broke into her home and she was reporting them. I heard her say,
Yes, we have a situation. There's an adult in the fourth grade classroom. Send help immediately.
so I'm sitting there like,
Wait, hold on. I didn't do anything wrong.
but within seconds, I hear sirens, then helicopter propellers, then footsteps in the hallway. And then, bam, the door burst open. And it wasn't just a regular cop, it was a full SWAT team. Tactical gear, shields, helmets, bulletproof vests, all to capture this dude. One of the officers pointed at me and yelled,
That's him!
then everyone in class turned and looked at me. And it was at this moment where every kid became conscious and aware that there was an adult in a fourth grade class. So they all started screaming. And for some reason, the only thing I could think to do in this moment was just start running. I literally jumped through the class windows to the outdoors and started running. And the SWAT team starts chasing me. I could hear radios going off behind me. Someone yelled,
Suspect is fleeing!
I heard dogs barking. I ran out of the building and into the streets. I was going through neighborhoods, jumping over fences, cutting through backyards. Full action movie sequence. It felt like having 5 stars on GTA. Eventually, I ran into a dead-end alley with nowhere to go. So I turned around and saw officers blocking the exit. I was completely so I accepted my fate and put my hands up. This was it. But right as the officer came sprinting after me, ready to catch me, I woke up. Now you could say I was the villain in this scenario, but everyone has envisioned themselves being a superhero before. It's just what you do growing up. And one time, I had a dream where I woke up, well, I thought I woke up fully convinced I was Batman. I literally looked in the mirror and in the reflection, I saw a man with a mask and makeup. This was my life now. I fully accepted it. No questions asked. And naturally, the first thing you do when you find out you're Batman is try to fly. Now, the only problem is, in the movies, Batman cannot fly. He uses gadgets like grappling hooks and the Batmobile to catch air sometimes, but he himself does not have the ability to fly. I guess my brain knew this, but me in the dream me didn't care about any of that at all. Dream me had fully convinced himself that Batman could fly, and I was about to prove it. So I climbed to the top of the Empire State Building, I stood on the edge, and I'm looking down over the whole city, ready to protect it. As every person in this scenario would do, I say to myself, I'm Batman. And then I go for it. I jump. So I'm falling, and I get about halfway down before I realize, oh wait, I can't fly. So now I start freaking out, thinking I'm about to hit the ground at 500 miles per hour, with my arms flailing, legs kicking, just screaming while I watch the ground get closer and closer. And right before I hit the pavement, I woke up. My heart is racing in real life. I'm sweating, fully convinced for a solid 10 seconds that I, Bruce Wayne, almost just fell to my death. But then I realized it was a dream, calmed down, and thought,
Oh, thank God it wasn't real.
and you would have thought that was where the story ended, right? But no, because I closed my eyes and once again, I'm back to being Batman. But never in my life have I been able to re-enter a dream until this day. So I just figured, oh, this must actually be real. I don't know if I joined the multiverse to get in here or what, but somehow I was back, still fully convinced I was Batman. But this time I wasn't trying to fly. This time I learned my lesson. But when I spawned in for the second time, the Joker was with me. He was standing in this warehouse across from me, and I walked over to him ready for the big confrontation. This was my moment, the moment where Batman shows his ability and defeats the Joker. So I slowly walked over to him, expecting for him to give me a monologue, you know, like every villain does. I thought he was gonna explain to me his evil plan, give me time to think of a clever comeback, maybe do that classic villain thing where they reveal too much information and accidentally tell me how to stop them. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. Cause I go up to him, and right as I'm about to speak, he just starts punching me in the face. No warning, no dialogue, just assault. And I tried to fight back. I really did, but my arms were moving like I was underwater. You know that dream thing where you try to punch someone, but your fists are going in slow motion and they have zero power behind them? That was happening to me. So I'm throwing these weak, pathetic punches that aren't connecting at all, and he's just absolutely cooking me. I'm getting hit in the face, the ribs, the stomach, and I can feel it too. It hurts. He hit me so many times I started crying. Have you ever seen Batman cry in these movies? Didn't think so. I was about to pass out right there in the dream, but right before I lost consciousness, I woke up again in real life with tears in my eyes. Not my proudest moment. I feel like if there was any chance of me playing Batman in the future, I just lost it with that story.
What am I talking about? I never had a chance of playing Batman anyway.
Now here's the thing about dreams that nobody talks about. They don't just stay in your head. Sometimes they leak out into real life. And that's when things get truly horrifying. Because I'm a person who talks in their sleep. Like pretty much every night. I shared bunk beds with my brother growing up, and he told me every night I'd be having full-on conversations with myself at 3 a.m. And usually it's just harmless stuff. I'll be mumbling random words, then out of the blue go,
cheeseburgers.
and then I go back to silent sleeping. No big deal. But one night, one cursed night, I had a dream that was so intense, so vivid, that when I woke up, all my friends couldn't believe what just happened. Because while I was sleeping during a sleepover with my friends, I randomly woke up in the middle of the night. But when I opened my eyes, I saw all 4 of my friends surrounding me, just staring. I thought one of 2 things must have happened here. Number 1, I peed the bed and they were disgusted and never wanted to be friends again. Or number 2, they were pulling a prank on me since I fell asleep first. So I checked my fingers and toes to make sure none of them were chopped off, and then I checked to make sure my pants weren't wet. And when I finished all those checks, I asked them,
Guys, what's going on? Why are you recording me? What did I do?
and one of my friends goes,
Dude, you were sleep talking. But like not normally. You need to watch this video I recorded of it.
so they showed me the footage, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I sounded fully possessed. I was having a full-blown heated argument with someone who didn't exist in my sleep, and I was locked in. I was gesturing with my hands, raising my voice. I was debating like my life depended on it, except none of it made sense. At one point in the video they showed me, I sat up from my bed with my eyes still closed, fully asleep. I pointed at nothing and then yelled,
That's not how marshmallows work!
Then I went completely silent for like 10 seconds, just staring straight ahead with my eyes closed before mumbling something about sandwiches and then lying back down. My friends told me I did this for 20 minutes straight. 20 minutes of me having the biggest debate of my life with an invisible opponent. They told me at one point I said,
Something bad is about to happen.
and then I immediately followed that up with,
But if you toast the bread first, it'll all be okay.
and the crazy part was I had no memory of this dream. I don't know what I was arguing about. I don't know who I was arguing with. I don't know why toast was involved. The thing I can't stand about dreams is that there's always something holding you back. No matter what the situation is, your brain decides to nerf you for no reason. It's like you're playing in hardcore mode every time you dream. You ever been inside a dream where everyone is screaming at you, calling you chopped, short, dumb?
Actually, that kind of just sounds like my comment section.
But what I was saying is, have you ever been in a dream like this, but you don't have the ability to speak back? You can't even defend yourself. You just gotta take the diss. That's the thing about dreams. There are no rules. So if something doesn't make sense inside the dream, oh well, it doesn't have to. And trust me, this next dream made absolutely no sense at all, and it still haunts me to this day. Now, when you hear it, you're gonna think,
Tyler, that's not scary at all.
you just have to really put yourself in my shoes to understand my perspective, okay? So I had a dream. I feel like Martin Luther King when I say that. I had a dream. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh, I had a dream where I was being chased. I didn't know why. I didn't know where I was. I just knew that I had to run, and I had to run fast because something bad would happen if I got caught. Here was the problem though. I was moving in slow motion. You know that nightmare thing when you try to sprint, but your legs feel like they're made of cement, and no matter how hard you push, you barely move? That was me. So I'm trying so hard to run. Like I'm pumping my arms, pushing off the ground with everything I have. I'm leaning forward trying to gain momentum, but I'm moving at the speed of a sloth with a sprained ankle trying to go through peanut butter. And you're all gonna say, Tyler,
We've all had this dream before, but what makes yours so special?
well, the whole time I was running, I could hear footsteps behind me, getting closer and closer, steadily gaining on me. And I can see the silhouette of who was chasing behind me. But the weird part is, on their head was a bow that kept bouncing up and down as they were running. At first, I couldn't tell who it was. All I could see was the bow, a pink, sparkly bow. I tried to look back to see who was chasing me, but every time I turned my head, I'd slow down even more. It was like the dream had rules. And one of the rules was, if you look back, you lose speed. So I'm I'm stuck running forward in slow motion while this bow gets closer and closer. Eventually, I worked up the courage to actually turn around and see who it was. And guess who I saw? JoJo Siwa. Full ponytail, big bow on, full sparkly outfit, just casually chasing me through the woods in my dream like it was a normal afternoon activity for her. And she's got this big smile on her face. And you would think I would be relieved to see that it's not a serial killer or anything like that. But no, somehow this made it more creepy because she wasn't even running aggressively. She wasn't sprinting or chasing me with any urgency. She was just there, effortlessly gliding toward me while I'm out here fighting for my life. I tried everything to escape her. I turned corners, she was still there. I'd hide behind things, she'd find me immediately. I even tried running into a building and going out the back exit. But when I got outside, she was somehow already there waiting for me. It was like she had teleportation abilities, or she knew exactly where I was going before I did. Low-key, I feel like JoJo Siwa does have teleportation abilities in real life. But it was almost as if she was in my head. Well, I guess she was technically. At one point, I tried to reason with her. I stopped running, turned around and said, "What do you want from me?" She did not respond. She just kept gliding towards me with a smile on her face, not saying a word. Just existing in the most terrifying way possible. So I started running again. Then finally, I tripped on something and she catches up to me and she's towering over me. Gotta be at least 10 feet tall. And right before she did whatever she was about to do, I sprung up from my bed back to reality. So JoJo, if you're watching this, no hate, but now every time I see that bow on your head, it gives me PTSD. What am I kidding? JoJo Siwa is not watching this video. But the image of those bows bouncing toward me in slow motion will stick with me forever. That's the weird thing about dreams. You almost never seem to get the climax of them. And this applies to both bad and good dreams. When you don't want to wake up because you're married to Megan Fox, you wake up right before the dream gets good. And when you're in a dream where, well, you're falling off a skyscraper, right before you hit the ground, you wake up. It's almost like our brain doesn't want us to get too happy or too scared. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Your brain will definitely let you get too scared during a dream. And I can prove it because one time I had a dream I can still picture perfectly right now. The worst dreams are the ones you don't even realize you're in. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The dreams where you're going about your day completely normal. Everything feels accurate. The sounds are right. Physics are working correctly. You're fully immersed in what you think is real life. And then you see a toilet and your brain goes,
"Oh, I should use this."
And you think,
"Yeah, this seems fine. This is definitely a real toilet. I'm definitely actually awake right now. There's no way this is a dream."
and then you use the toilet. And that's when everything turns sideways. Because even though you're sitting on the toilet, you start to feel something warm creep down your leg. What is it? Oh, right, it's pee! Because you weren't actually asleep. Your brain just gaslit you into thinking you were because well, I don't know why actually. That's a good question. Scientists say that everything in this world serves a purpose, right? Trees gives you oxygen, water gives you hydration, LeBron gives you love. But what purpose does peeing in your dream serve? Was it just God's way of saying,
Yo, dog, you really need to clean those bed sheets.
because other than that, I can't think of any good reasoning. But I know exactly why my brain decided to give me this next dream. Because this next dream was literally something I've thought about doing my whole life. It should have been the best dream of my life. But instead, it became a nightmare. Let me set the scene. Suddenly, I wake up and bam, there I am playing in the World Cup final. I'm on the pitch while the game is going on, and I look around and realize,
"Oh snap, I'm not watching the final."
I'm playing in it. So my first thought is, this is incredible. But then I realized something horrible. I didn't get any superpowers in this dream. Most dreams, if you're doing something you can't do in real life, your brain gives you a boost. But not this time. I didn't suddenly have the skill level of Messi. Nah, it was just normal me playing against the best players in the world in a World Cup final in front of 100,000 people. The whistle blew, and immediately, I knew I was in trouble. The ball came near me, and I tried to control it, but that worked horribly. It bounced off my shin and went out of bounds, and the crowd groans. I tried to defend, but the other team's players just blew past me like I wasn't even there. And it kept getting worse, because every time the ball came to me, I'd lose it immediately. I tried to pass, it'd get intercepted. I tried to shoot, I'd miss the goal by 500 feet. Within 10 minutes, the other team was up 3-0, and all 3 goals were basically my fault. The commentators started personally attacking me. I could hear them through the stadium speakers. One of them literally said,
"This is genuinely the worst performance I have ever seen at this level."
the fans started booing me, but not just casual booing, like aggressive booing. Then they started chanting, and I would repeat to you what they were saying, but I don't want this video to get taken down. Eventually, the booing got so bad that I couldn't take it anymore. So I just ran off the field. In the middle of the game, just straight up left. I ran toward the locker room, and the people in the stands are throwing water bottles at me. Anything they had in their hand instantly became a weapon. I made it to the parking lot and collapsed against a wall, crying, while I could still hear the stadium in the background. I've always watched World Cup matches on TV thinking, if I was out there, I feel like I could compete. But let me just tell you, that is the stupidest thing I have ever thought. And trust me, I've thought a lot of stupid things. But have you ever had a dream that you wish you could go back to? Like when you wake up, you almost want to cry just thinking about the fact that your dream wasn't real. And then you try your very hardest to go back into the dream, but it doesn't work. Because that's how this next dream was. And let's just say it involves my sweet Pookie Bear Honey Boo Scrum Diddly Dum Goat, LeBron James. So one day, during a dream, I wake up in my bed and everything feels normal. But then I rolled over and I see that there's another bed in my room and someone's sleeping in it. Who is sleeping in it? LeBron Ramon James. And my brain fully accepted this as normal. There was no moment of confusion. I just thought,
Oh, yeah, LeBron's my roommate now. That's just how it is.
and when you got a roommate like LeBron, you just want to make him happy. So what did I do? I got up and made him breakfast before he woke up. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, orange juice, the full spread. Little did I know, this would be a horrible decision. Because Braun woke up, came into the kitchen, saw the food, and said,
Oh, good looking out, man. Thanks.
so we ate together, had a completely normal conversation, and after we finished eating, he left for his game. It all felt completely natural. But that night, I was sitting on the couch watching his game, and it went bad. The Lakers got crushed. So I knew LeBron would be upset when he got back home. But about an hour later, I hear the door open, and it's LeBron. But immediately, I could tell something was wrong. He didn't say a word. He just walked in, sat down on the couch next to me, and stared at the wall. I gave him a minute, but after a while, I was like,
Yo, you good?
he turns to me, and the look on his face was pure disappointment. Then he goes,
Tyler, we can't be friends anymore.
so I'm like,
Wait, what are you talking about, Pookie?
and he says,
The breakfast you gave me this morning gave me food poisoning. I felt sick the whole game and I played terrible. It's all your fault we lost.
he just shook his head and said,
I can't have you around if you're gonna mess up my career. You gotta leave. Pack your stuff now.
so I started packing in silence, and he just sat there on the couch watching me gather my things. And I'm literally crying like we were going through a divorce. I grabbed my stuff, walked toward the door, and turned around to say something, maybe apologize one more time, but he just looks at me and said,
I never want to see you again.
and when I left, I woke up. But here's the crazy part. Even after I woke up, I still felt bad. I sat up in bed, fully awake, and my first thought was,
I need to find a way to apologize to LeBron.
it took me a solid 10 minutes to remember that none of it was real. LeBron James does not actually know me. Maybe he does. No, he doesn't. But LeBron, if you're watching this, please let me make it up to you. I love you, LeBron. Would you like to be friends in real life? Maybe? No? Okay, stupid question, sorry. You believe a lot of dumb things when you're a kid. Like if you swallow a piece of gum, it'll stay in your stomach for 7 years. So let's talk about some of the lies we all fell for when we were younger and how I found out that these lies weren't even real. Because looking back, we were all pretty stupid growing up. And between you and me, some of us still are. Wait. No, I wasn't talking about myself. Whatever, let's just get into it. So you might think to yourself, where did we even hear all these lies we believed as kids? Well, lucky for you, I know the answer. It was our parents. They were always the ones gaslighting us into believing things that weren't true. And they weren't even good lies. Like you would be passing by McDonald's and say,
Hey mom, can we get some food?
and she'd just be like,
Nah, McDonald's is closed.
first off, last time I checked, McDonald's is not Chick-fil-A. They don't close on any day. They would stay open during the apocalypse. And second of all, I literally could see people in the drive-thru. But why would parents lie to us as kids? They're the ones who tell us that lying is bad and we shouldn't do it. Well, I've interviewed my mom to find out exactly why parents did this, and this was her answer. This is actually a direct quote from her. Here we go. Well, you were a very annoying kid growing up, and the only way I could get you to listen or behave was by lying to you. Thanks for the insight, Mom. I understand it now. I would have lied to me too. But the first big lie I believed as a child wasn't because of my parents. And technically, it might actually be true. Like, there's no way for anyone to prove that it isn't true. The lie that my toys and stuffed animals came to life when I wasn't looking. Growing up, I was so confident this was real. I don't know if it was just because of watching Toy Story or just straight up schizophrenia, but I believed it. I was convinced that the second I left my room, my stuffed animals were throwing parties, gossiping about me, everything. I had evidence. Because when I was younger, my toys kept disappearing. I'd have a stuffed dog one day, and then a week later, gone. I'd get a toy from McDonald's when my mom finally would take me, but 3 days passed, it's nowhere to be seen. So in my mind, there was only one explanation. The toys were getting up and leaving. Maybe I wasn't a good enough owner. Maybe they found a better kid that would take care of them more. Maybe my farts just smelled too bad, so they got up and left when I wasn't looking. I wouldn't even blame them for that one, to be honest. I mean, I farted so hard one time, my hamster had a stroke. Those poor little creatures will die over anything. I mean, I wouldn't have even been surprised if there was a Reddit page the toys made just dedicated to hating on me. So to prove my theory right, I made a plan to catch my toys in the act. So I asked my parents for a motion sensor for Christmas, which they were really confused about, but I'm pretty sure they just figured this was my autism special interest at the time. So they bought it for me, and I set it up in my room. And then I put all my toys in a pile together and aimed the sensor right at them. But here here was the weird part. My toys were still disappearing. Then one day, I'm sitting in the living room and I hear this noise coming from under the couch. So I get down on the floor and I look behind the couch. I'm thinking maybe a mouse is stuck under there, but what I actually saw shocked me because underneath that couch was every single toy I thought ran away. My tiny stuffed dog, my kids' meal toys, my LeBron plush toy, all just completely covered in dust. Some of them were missing eyes because my cat must have been getting weird with them. So I grabbed them out from under the couch and then my cat proceeded to take one from my hand and run away. That's when I realized he was the guilty one this whole time. He was stealing all my toys and playing with them and then eventually losing them under the couch. So I did the only thing I could do in this situation. I fed my cat to a pack of wolves. No, I'm kidding. I didn't do that. It was just a joke, okay? My cat is so fat anyway that wolves wouldn't be able to eat him. But for this next lie, I was literally convinced I would die if I did it. Like it was genuinely dangerous. And I still don't understand it. But this next lie is about the light inside your car. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If you even thought about turning on that light while the car was moving at night, your parents acted like you just activated a time bomb. You're in the car and you sneeze, which makes boogers fly everywhere. So you turn the light on to clean it up. But the moment you do that, your mom goes,
"Turn that off right now."
the way they said it was always so panicked. Like we were seconds away from a catastrophe happening. It was as if the button for the light in our car was actually the same button that launches the nuclear missiles. So naturally, because my parents freaked out so much every time I did this, I literally thought turning on the car light at night was illegal. It was the only explanation that made sense. If a cop drove by and saw your interior light was on, you're going to jail. And then when you get to court to see how long your sentence is, you realize that your homie is the judge and he gives you life in prison just as a silly little prank. So I was terrified of that light. If my hand even grazed the switch by accident, I'd have a full panic attack. And my parents never actually explained why it was so dangerous. They just yelled whenever I pressed it, which made it worse because my child brain filled in the blanks with increasingly disturbing scenarios. Like maybe the light blinds other drivers and it will make them veer off a cliff. Maybe it's a signal to the police that there's a child in the car who's getting kidnapped. It wasn't until I was like 13 that I actually found out it wasn't illegal because I was in the car with my friend and his mom and he reached for the button to turn the light on. But before he could do it, I slapped his hand and went, "What are you doing? You can't do that." And he just goes,
What are you talking about?
and when he turned it on, nothing happened. No one died. Well, at least not in that car, because statistically, like, someone dies about every 2 seconds. So I'm sure someone in the world just did, actually. And someone also probably just did right now. But anyways, I thought I would understand why parents were so freaky about this light when I began driving. But now, I've been driving for 8 years, and I still don't understand it. Maybe I'll understand it more when I have kids, but at this point, me having kids is looking like a long shot. The worst part is, I'm scared of the dark, so I like when the light is on. And most of the lies we believed when we were younger aren't harmful at all. This next one was harmful, and it was disgusting. Because did anyone else assume growing up that actors who played relatives in movies were actually related in real life? Like Drake and Josh, or the Jonas Brothers. The logic was simple. I'm 5 years old, I'm watching a show where these people are brothers and sisters, and since I'm a dumb kid, I just assumed they must be brother and sister in reality. But what made this so disgusting was the day I watched the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you've never seen this movie, it's about a guy named Ferris Bueller, but in the movie, he has a sister named Jeannie. And in the movie, they're like normal siblings. They fight, get mad at each other, very standard brother-sister stuff. But then one day, I'm walking through the living room and my mom's watching some entertainment news show. Then I look at the TV and see Ferris Bueller and his sister. And there they are on a red carpet together. Doesn't seem too weird until they turn toward each other and kiss. Like full-on romantic kissing. Not a peck on the cheek, not a friendly hug. So I just point at the TV and go, ew. My mom looks at me and this is how our interaction goes. "Oh, Tyler, grow up. They're just kissing." "You support this?" "Yeah, they're a cute couple. I don't see the issue with it." "Are you and dad siblings too?" And after I said that, this was the moment I was taught that not all relatives in movies or shows are actually related in real life. So if you see someone making out with their sister on the red carpet, don't worry. It's not weird. Wait, please do not clip that out of context. Please, I'm begging you. Let's move on. Do you see this face I'm making? Well, this face is actually very dangerous, and if you try to do it, bad things may happen. Well, at least that's what I used to believe growing up when my parents told me the lie that we've all been told before. If you keep making that face, it'll get stuck that way. This is a classic parental threat that worked way too well because it's pretty believable. Like if you don't know how faces work as a kid, maybe it can get stuck like this. You've never tested the limits, but I've got some trauma with this lie because for some reason, I was obsessed with rolling my eyes back into my head when I was younger. I don't know why. It didn't serve any purpose. It wasn't even comfortable, but I discovered this weird thing my body could do and I was gonna exploit it. So I just walk around all day with my eyes rolled back like I was possessed. And my parents hated it. It looked like this. "Hey mom, what's up?" "You're such a disappointment." Naturally, my parents hated when I did this. Every single time I did it, they'd hit me with the, "Your eyes are gonna stay like that." And whenever they'd say that, I'd stop immediately because the mental image of having permanently rolled back eyes was way too horrifying. I'd be walking around looking like a zombie for the rest of my life. Imagine trying to find a girlfriend or a job when you just look like this. "Hey baby, wanna go on a date? I mean, to be fair, my eyes are fine, and I still don't have either of those things, but I'm sure this wouldn't have helped. And I genuinely thought this one was true one day when I was yawning a bunch. I don't know if I just didn't get good sleep the night before, but after about the 500th yawn, my jaw got stuck like this. I literally couldn't move it. I was freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, they weren't lying. It's gonna be stuck like this forever. I can't live the rest of my life like this. What if a bird flies in my mouth? How do I defend against that? But my mom took me to the doctor and it turns out I just had lockjaw, which they were able to fix in like 3 seconds. To this day, I still can't open my jaw super wide because of that, which is super sad because I used to get a quadruple Baconator at Wendy's, but now I can only fit 3 patties in my mouth. But do you guys remember when I swallowed a piece of gum in the beginning of the video? Probably not, because I think most of you just put these videos on in the background and don't even really listen to what I'm saying. Actually, let's test if that's true. If you're paying attention right now, comment the word purple pineapple. Well, I mean, I guess that's 2 words, but anyway, where was I? Ah, yes, swallowing gum. The one thing you never wanted to do, because if you did, apparently it would stay in your stomach for 7 years. 7 years. That's longer than some people's marriages. So just imagine how scared I was one time when I'm chewing some gum until my friend makes a funny joke, which causes me to laugh. And unfortunately, mid-laugh, I suffered the worst fate known to man. I swallowed the gum. And the second I realized what happened, I went straight to the bathroom. I had to get that gum out no matter what it took. So I did what any rational person would do, and I tried to throw it back up. I put fingers down my throat, gagged, and made my eyes water, but still, it wouldn't come up. So I had to face reality. I was gonna carry this gum around inside me until I was in high school. This piece of gum was gonna be with me for all my major life events. First day of middle school, gum would be there. First crush, gum would be there. Watching my sports teams choke every year, including to this date, gum would be there. So I went to my friend and told him what I just did, but he just looked at me like, okay, so I've swallowed like 10 pieces of gum before. It's not a problem. If you were wondering whether this was the same kid I said ate glue once, yes it was. I know, I had a weird friend group. I also ate glue once, but that's irrelevant. Does anyone even know where this lie came from though? Because I looked it up and apparently when you swallow gum, your body just digests it like any other food. So what is even the purpose behind spreading this lie? Unfortunately guys, the video is now in black and white. My room is literally black and white and this isn't just a filter I put on the video, okay? I'm just joking. Okay, editor, you can put the video back into color now. No, not like that. No, that's not quite right either. Yep, okay, there we go. Okay, anyways, what I was are you serious? Okay, so the point I was trying to make with that segment is that I thought people saw the world in black and white before color TV was invented. In my child brain, it made perfect sense. Old TV shows show black and white because that's what the world looked like back then. Just like the wheel was invented, just like the Popeye's chicken sandwich was invented, one day, color was invented. Someone just decided to make color one day. It was probably just one of the many things LeBron created, I don't know. But I remember watching an old show once where a character pointed at a rainbow and said, "Wow, look at that beautiful rainbow." I looked at the TV screen and the rainbow was just shades of gray. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, these people are really excited about a gray rainbow? They must have just never seen one with color in their life. The past was in black and white, and that's why old photos were black and white. That's why old movies were black and white. I was so convinced of this that I asked my grandparents one time what it was like to grow up with the world being in black and white and then changing to color. The worst part about me asking this was they didn't even correct me. They were just like, oh yeah, it was cool. Seeing color for the first time is amazing. When a kid that was obsessed with film in my class told me color existed before color TV, how cameras could only capture black and white at first, color film was developed later, all of this nerd stuff I don't even remember. And I just sat there, absorbing this information, feeling my entire understanding of history crumble. World War II? The Great Depression? Happened in color. Now I know this next slide isn't real, but I want to start a petition to make it real, because it just doesn't feel right any other way. Because when I was younger, I was fully convinced that teachers lived at school. They just stayed there all the time. Because where else would they go? The school was their home. I think the reasoning behind this belief was that teachers were always at school when I arrived in the morning, and they were still there when I left in the afternoon. Therefore, they never left that place. They must have lived there. Now, I've told you guys before about some of the horror stories I've had seeing my teacher in public and talking about how this could be scary, especially if it's a teacher you got beef with. But let me tell you about how I first discovered that this whole thing was a lie. Teachers actually have lives outside of school. At least most of them do. But the one who failed me in 7th grade math, that guy didn't have a life. I didn't forget about you, Mr. Clark. All you had to do was bump my grade 0.2% and you couldn't do it because rules are rules. Sorry guys, I just needed to get that off my chest. But the tragic day where I found out teachers actually do touch grass is when I went to the movie theater. I was there with some friends. I don't remember what we were going to see. Probably something sophisticated like the Cars movie. And of course, when you're in the theater, you have assigned seats. We picked the very back row so we could mess around a little bit. But when we arrived to our seats, you know who is literally one seat over from us? My teacher and a girl. The moment we made eye contact with each other, I don't know who was more disappointed because we both had a facial expression signaling that our night was ruined. But the seats were assigned and the theater was pretty full. full, so we couldn't just move seats. So we sat down next to him, and at first he tried to ignore us, but we could both feel the tension. So eventually he just goes, "Oh, hey gentlemen, didn't see you there." We said hi back to him, and that was it. Not another word for the whole movie. It was the most awkward experience I have ever had with a teacher, and I've accidentally called my teacher mom before. So who's with me? Who else believes that teachers should not be allowed to leave the school? I know it sounds cruel, but it's just too weird to see them outside of their natural habitat. You don't let the lions at the zoo outside of their enclosure. No, because that would result in chaos. People could die. And we could say the same thing about teachers being outside of school. But if you're thinking, Tyler, this is a bit dramatic, don't you think? Because the only reason I want this to be a rule in the first place is so Mr. Clark can't leave school and he's trapped there forever. So I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure this happens. Mr. Clark wasn't even a good teacher either. Like, if he actually did his job well, do you think I would have turned out like this? Don't answer that actually. But Mr. Clark did such a bad job at teaching that I was still stupid when I finished the class. And if you don't think I'm being honest, well, just wait for this next thing I believed as a kid. Because I genuinely thought growing up that chocolate milk came from brown cows. This is a lie I believed because of an experience I had with a cow. I had family that lived on a farm in Oklahoma. I'm talking like true Southern people that talk like this and say y'all all the time. Y'all want to go to dinner? Y'all trying to go to Diddy's house? Okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, on this farm, my family had several cows, and one of them was brown. So in my mind, that meant one thing. That cow must produce chocolate milk. It wasn't Nesquik making the milk chocolate. It was these cows. And like any other kid, I love chocolate milk. So one day, I decided I want some chocolate milk right now. There's none in the house, but luckily, I've got a gold mine that makes its own chocolate milk in the backyard. Now, I couldn't tell my parents or my grandparents who actually owned the farm about this because they would have told me no. So I quietly snuck out to this barn when nobody was watching. I approached the brown cow with delusional confidence. He was just standing there. I said hi. He said, "Moo." Then I got up close and was ready to do the job, but I realized I had a significant problem. I've never milked a cow before. I have no idea how to do this. So now that I was standing there face to face with these udders, the whole thing just felt deeply wrong. Even the thought of just touching those udders felt inappropriate to me at that time. I reached my hand out toward the udder, but every time I got close, I pulled it back. Tried again, pulled it back. I did this probably 8 times because I really wanted that chocolate milk. The cow didn't even notice. It just kept eating hay, completely unbothered by me. After like 5 full minutes of doing this, I came to the conclusion I just couldn't. It felt too invasive, so I just walked away. Went back to the house with no chalky milk. But my grandpa saw me trying to sneak back inside the house and asked me what I was doing. Now my grandpa never judged me, so he was the one person that I felt like I could tell the truth to. I told him the whole thing. Then he took me back out there and taught me how to milk a cow. And that's when I realized I never want to milk a cow again. I also don't even know if it's safe to drink milk straight after milking it. But what do I know? Or at least I used to think I know. Something I used to think I know was that swimming immediately after eating something will hurt you, kill you even. This was treated as an undeniable law of nature. Where was the scientific studies backing this up? Well, I have it right here. It's called your mom. That sounded like I was trying to make a your mom joke. I wasn't. I was just saying that moms were usually the ones who made this up. Please tell your mom I apologize for the joke I just made. And if she's single, please tell her to hit me up. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop. But I had to learn the hard way that this myth was not real when I was at a pool party for someone's birthday. And I just demolished a massive amount of food. Hot dogs, chips, watermelon, birthday cake, probably some candy. I was uncomfortably full. This is a problem I still have today. Like, if there's free food in front of me, I'm literally going to eat all of it. It's not even me doing it either. I just enter the flow state whenever I see food in front of me. So after eating everything in sight, including the table, my friends got in the pool. I was just chilling watching everyone else instead of actually going in because I knew I needed 30 minutes for my food to digest. And also, like I've said, I sucked at swimming when I was younger, but everyone kept calling for me to get in. Tyler, get in, we're starting Marco Polo.
Come on, Tyler, you're so hot and tall and have so much aura. Get in.
But the point is, they really wanted me in that pool. So I convinced myself, I probably waited long enough. Surely the food digested by now, and my stomach wouldn't burst out with my organs splattering all over the place for everyone to see. So I got in the pool. Within 10 seconds of getting in the water, I threw up. Projectile vomited everything I'd eaten. Hot dogs, cake, watermelon, all of it in the pool. The screaming started right away. Kids scrambling out of the pool like I just released a bag of piranhas. The pool had to be completely evacuated. The birthday party basically ended right there. Someone's dad had to come out with the pool chemicals and cleaning supplies. No one got back in the pool for the rest of the party. So I just had to sit there, wrapped in a towel, dripping wet and covered in shame. So in my mind, this proved everything. The swimming after eating rule was real. For years after that, I never swam immediately after eating. I'd watch other people swim after eating and think, you're playing with fire, buddy. You're either gonna throw up or die. I've seen it firsthand. I became a lifeguard for pool parties, but instead of saving kids from drowning, I was saving kids from throwing up all over the place. If a kid actually was drowning, I couldn't do anything. And this is a lie that's pretty convincing. So it wasn't even until maybe last year where I found out there's actually no scientific evidence that swimming right after eating does anything. The whole thing is a myth. You can swim immediately after eating and you'll be totally fine. But I was like, no, that can't be true. I am proof that that's not true. But the more research I did and the more I thought about it, I started to realize, maybe it was the fact that I ate about 12,000 calories that caused me to throw up and not my toes just touching the water. So did I learn my lesson? No. I still eat everything in sight anytime there's free food. But from now on, when I do this, I just make sure there's a bathroom nearby. And speaking of bathroom, I really have to go poop. So I'm gonna have to end this video right here. Okay, bye guys.